What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Tim's Sports Talk. And today we are going to be filling out the perfect bracket, and we have our NCAA expert, in-house expert, aka you've heard his voice on Call of Duty, and this is KP. We're putting a face to it. How you doing today, KP?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm excited to fill out some brackets, talk some hoops, and get down to it.
There you go. Yeah, it's going to be fun. KP's a basketball coach. We played basketball together in college. If you guys weren't around when we were doing the 94 Feet podcast, KP got busy on me. He's got like 40,000 things that he does. And I really hate him for it, but I keep him around just for fun. No, we're good friends. And yep. But all right, let's just go ahead and hop right into this thing. So yeah, we're going to be filling out a bracket, and honestly, I don't know much about this. So I'm going to be learning with you guys. KP is going to be our guide to filling out the entire perfect bracket. I think I know one person's name and I say it wrong, so I'm not even going to go there. And all right, let's go ahead and hop right into this thing. We're going to start with an easy one. So we got Gonzaga, the number 1 overall seed, going against Georgia State. Is there any chance for Georgia State?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Unfortunately, and this is the one thing I'm going to look at a lot, is the user pick rate on the CBS Sports app. 99% of people that fill out brackets are picking Gonzaga. Only 1% of people are picking Georgia State, which I think that's too high of a number. We're going to win that first one.
Gotcha. What up, Gilly? Gilly in the house. All right, now we have a much more interesting matchup. Boise State versus Memphis. My gut says Memphis. I feel like they're a better basketball school, but what do you think? Boise State's technically the better seed.
Yeah, so the only thing that Memphis has going for them really is they play a much harder schedule. Versus the top 25, Memphis is 3-2. Versus the top 25 for Boise State, they're 0-1. The strength of schedule, Memphis is 25th, while Boise's at 47th. Points per game, Memphis has that. The only real category where Boise State's better is opponents' points per game. Their defense locks in a little bit more. I think, though, and America thinks the same way, 64% of the votes are going with Memphis. That's where I'm going to.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, as I said, just the basketball school for me is more – I know more about them than Boise State, so that makes more sense. And, all right, yeah, you got some good info. Too late to already done mine? All right, well, fair. You can always change the things. Yeah, and by the way, if you haven't already, fill out your bracket in the link below to join the tournament. You can win $100 and the first Tim Sports Talk merch. So hop in to that. What do you think of this kind of bold? I think South Dakota State makes the Sweet 16. All right, well, we'll see what KP has to say about that when we get to that point. All right, so the 5-12 matchups, the dreaded 5-12 matchups. My gut actually likes this one, New Mexico State. Usually a 12 seed always wins. Maybe even 2 of them win. But is this the matchup that you're picking, or do you think they have a shot?
I'm not going with this 5-12. I have a different 5-12 going on, and I actually have a 13 seed that we'll talk about here in a little bit. But in this case, I really like when teams play against the AP top 25. So Yukon has had 7 games against the top 25. New Mexico State has 0. And then if you look at their net rank, Yukon is ranked 17th overall, and New Mexico State is 79th overall. So with all that being said, and the Big East being more predominantly stronger basketball conference in the WAC, I'm going to go with Yukon for this one.
Interesting. How did New Mexico State get in with being a top 79 school? Did they win their...
I mean, they probably won their conference tournament.
Yeah,
had a bid like that, especially since they're a double-digit seed.
Gotcha. So New Mexico State, not a good pick at 79, and then they haven't played anybody tough at all. You said no top 25 opponents. Okay, right. Fair enough.
Their strength of schedule is at 94, where UConn's at 36. So just that alone, I feel like I'm going to side with the Huskies.
Makes sense. This is good info. Okay, fair enough. All right, so this is not the 5-12 matchup to pick. All right. Arkansas versus Vermont. I also liked this just off of gut of Vermont taking the upset, because I think a 13/4 happens a reasonable amount of time, not every year, but I thought maybe this might be a good one. But you tell me, is Arkansas just going to blow them away?
Okay, so no, I don't think so. Arkansas has its weaknesses for sure. I would be shocked if the spread on this game, if you're a gambler or anything like that, is over 10 points at all, or even close to like 7 points, to be honest with you. Vermont plays a very unique style of basketball. They're in the America East, which is a different kind of conference. They've only played one game against the top 25, but they are playing some really good basketball, and I picked them with the upset over Arkansas.
Oh, okay. My gut was with me on that one. Okay, fair enough. I wanted New Mexico State as well, but Vermont is a good pick over Arkansas. Not a guarantee by any means. Obviously, Arkansas is going to be the favorite. So we're picking the perfect bracket. So you better pick Vermont. No, just kidding. All right, Alabama versus the two teams. So they're going to play the best of these two. No, I'm just kidding. There's a play-in game between Rutgers and Notre Dame. Who do you think is going to win that matchup? Notre Dame versus Rutgers, and then do they have a chance against Alabama?
Okay, if I had to pick a team to beat. A team to win that first playing game, I would pick Rutgers. Rutgers has, and they had in the regular season, a string of 4 games, and maybe I think even 5 out of 7 games where they beat top 25 opponents in a row. I don't think any team in the NCAA has a stretch where they beat that many top 25 teams in a row like that, or even in that many games. The Big Ten, in my opinion, is a better basketball conference than the ACC. People will debate me on that all the time. That's fine. So I'm going to go with Rutgers in that one for sure.
Okay. I would say that the Big Ten is probably deeper, right? Like they have they're not as top heavy as the ACC is these days. But
yeah, I 100% agree with that. That's
so they beat up on each other. That's why there's no. I think the highest seed out of the Big Ten this year is a 3.
Purdue's
a 3, right?
Oh, Purdue's a 3. Yep. So
the highest one coming out of the Big Ten is a 3, but Duke obviously is number 2 seed coming out of the ACC. But yeah, it sounds like they just beat up on each other real hard over there in the Big 12, hurting their rankings when it comes to this. But all right, cool. So Rutgers beats Notre Dame, and then they're going against Alabama, which Alabama's becoming a decent basketball school. Everybody knows them for football, but they've actually turned up a lot the last couple of years.
Yeah, Alabama, they've been playing some really good basketball. The SEC in general as a conference, like they're always a football conference, dominant football, all these rings, Saban and all these other coaches in the football. But SEC basketball is now one of those conferences where you have to be seriously considering them as a top tier conference. Like they are right with the ACC, in my opinion. They're right with the Big Ten, in my opinion. They're growing. They're also kind of top heavy with the ACC a little bit. But in this matchup, if they're going to play Rutgers or Notre Dame, I don't care who the opponent is. I really like Alabama in this game.
So no 6-11 upset here. Alabama taking down whoever wins the play-in game. And I feel like even though the play-in game, I feel like is a slight advantage. You're coming into warmed up, unless of course you get banged up, which sucks. But you're already getting an atmosphere of I must win to move on. So you're already in that mindset where Alabama's going to be coming in fresh. But they don't have the same. They don't have a warm-up game, which is interesting. Apparently, you busted this guy's bracket already. Arkansas was in his Final Four. Ouch! And then you have him out first game. Curious what happens. What you're going to say about Murray start versus San Francisco? When we get to that one, you'll hear all the great insight.
Yep. And the one thing I do like about like you said, the playing game. Think about a team like UCLA last year. They went into overtime in their playing game. Then they made it all the way to the Final Four, or did they go to the championship? No, they went to the Final Four.
They didn't go to the championship because it was Baylor versus Gonzaga. I remember that. But was it the Final Four where they lost to Baylor?
I'm almost certain, or maybe, yeah. Like they played really well, and that playing game was a lot of that reason, I think. I mean, exactly what you said. Like they had a game under their belt, they had the atmosphere, they were ready. So
for sure, as long as you come away without injury, that's the big thing. You can't obviously take hits to injury, but these kids are young. They're going to be ready to go in 2 days' time. Like 2 days for these kids are nothing.
Right.
So there you go. All right, here's a big 3-14 matchup where I think a 14 seed has won in like the last 5 tournaments, at least one 14 seed. So 3 versus 14, Texas Tech versus Montana State. Is Montana State on your radar for upset alert, or do you like Texas Tech still?
The only thing that I like about Montana State is they can score and they kind of play defense well. Like they average 77 points a game on offense. They give up 68 points. So when you have a margin of about 10, that's pretty darn good.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that's going to hurt them, their net rank is 120th. Okay, and they haven't played a game against the top 25. Texas Tech has played 11 games against top 25 teams.
Yeah, the Big 12 is nasty this year.
Yes, and their net rank is 9th overall.
Ooh.
I love Texas Tech in this matchup.
Okay, sweet. Makes sense. They should be the heavy favorite anyway. And yeah, I've had good things about Big 12. They have 2 number 1 seeds, don't they? Baylor and Kansas?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so yeah, they're extremely tough conference.
Yeah.
This year. So there you go. All right, Texas Tech moving on. And now a dreaded 7-10 matchup. These are basically coin flips. You never know who's going to come out on this one. And also, they're 2 pretty decent tournament teams with historically. Michigan State obviously has way more history, but Davidson has always showed up to these tournaments as well. So 7-10, Michigan State versus Davidson. What can you tell us about this matchup?
So for Michigan State, they had their run in the Big Ten where they were kind of towards the top and they kind of died out and they kind of made back up. They're so wishy-washy with their play. They don't have a true post defender or post player on offense. And I really, really like Davidson in this upset here. Okay?
Oh.
The reason being their net ranks are only 5 spots apart. Michigan has the slight edge at 36th, where Davidson is 41st. But Davidson doesn't play as hard of a schedule, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their strength of schedule is 118th in that regard. That's not good at all. But with their schedule, they went 15-3 in conference, so that's a solid conference season. You're not going to win all of them, right? They went 27-6 overall. I love Davidson. They score the ball, they defend well. That 10-point margin again is there. They check all my boxes.
All right, well there you go. Davidson with the upset over the 7 seed. All right, CSU Fullerton. I've heard they're coming like gangbusters. They're the best team in this tournament. So clearly we're not going to talk about that nasty team down in North Carolina. No, I'm just kidding. I'm assuming Duke is taking this down, even though it's to my chagrin. Hate Duke.
Yeah. No, Duke. The one thing Duke has for him is 5 All-Americans, so if that's important, I guess, I don't think you win some games. Not college All-Americans, obviously. High school All-Americans probably.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
Their record versus the top 25 is 2-0. Their strength of schedule is a 58. They score 80 points a game. They give up 67. I don't see any way how CS Fullerton has a chance. They score 10 less points a game. They're only winning by 4 points a game. There's no shot. Yeah. In my opinion.
No chance. Technically, the 15/2 is definitely more common than the 16/1, which has only ever happened one time. But it's still extremely rare, and usually all the stars have to align to get to that point. All right, Baylor, the defending champs, coming in as a number 1 seed. I'm just going to move them along. Norfolk State, good story, but you're running into a powerhouse. This is what I wanted to ask you about Baylor. When I watched them last year against Gonzaga, they dominated that game. They were it's like an NBA team going against a college team. It was
100%.
Just clear. They were bigger, faster, more athletic, more skilled. And who did they lose in the draft last year? And is this a team that basically should do the same thing coming in, where they're just bigger, faster, and more talented than basically everybody in the field?
So they lost Davion Mitchell, who now plays for, I believe, the Kings and Sacramento Kings in the NBA. He was their guy as far as getting everybody to rally around him, and he was their glue guy. He was their leader. But their biggest attribute is whatever they're doing to teach defense down in Baylor, they're doing it right because they get after you, man. There's always those coaches that are I want you to be so close to this guy that you can smell his gum at the end of this game. That's what they do on a night in and night out basis. They just defend the basketball. They play really hard. They can score with the best of them. I like Baylor a lot. I mean, they have the tools and the same kind of team as last year where they can go very far and make a Final Four run if the cards play out.
Fair enough. This is the ultimate of how you pick the perfect bracket. What if I told you I picked the nicer logos to advance every round? That's something my wife would do and just dominate me in this bracket. Just absolutely destroy me. It's hilarious. There is no right or wrong answers to these tournaments. That's what's beautiful about March Madness is you never know. And it's sometimes the most unexpected person in your pool that has never watched a college basketball game in their life, and they take down the entire thing with just a few basic leads as like, okay, well, the number 5 is better than the number 12, whatever. And then they just go with whatever they decide after that, and they just take home the money. I got my money on Michigan because Juwan Howard got the great left hook. Dr. Pig is one of my best commenters. He's great. What's up, Pig? Thanks for stopping by. All right, let's get back into this stuff. North Carolina versus Marquette. Marquette, I don't know. Are they still in the Big East? Or the Big East?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Marquette's still in the Big East. Yep.
So I know the Big East used to be something. Now it's not nearly as much as it used to be. And then North Carolina in a more battle-tested ACC. What do you got for this one? 8-9 matchup, coin flip, anything can happen.
So if you remember early in the year, Illinois, which is my favorite team, played Marquette. They didn't have Kofi Coburn, and Marquette came out and just dominated that game. I don't know what was going on with Illinois. Illinois is known as this like defensive team and everything, but Marquette just came out, and every time Illinois had something, Marquette answered the call. There was some discrepancy in like calls and things, and Illinois fans were mad about the referees. But hey, when you're playing a team like Marquette, you can't let it be decided by the referees. So I really and truthfully flipped a coin on this play today. And the coin flip said UNC. Okay.
Yeah.
So I picked them. I don't really feel so confident about it. Murray State has 3 of the 5 things that I look for in check boxes, and UNC has the other 2.
You mean Marquette?
Marquette has that. Yeah. My bad. What did I don't even know what I said. Anyway.
You said Murray State, but it's all good. You're getting ahead of us.
Yeah. Marquette has 3 of the 5 boxes checked. UNC has the other 2 boxes checked. So I flipped a coin. UNC ended up being there. But if you picked Murray State, I wouldn't be mad at you. I wouldn't, call you stupid or anything like that.
Gotcha.
This is going to be a really good game. I hope it's a really good game. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
It's either going to be a 1-point game or just one team's going to be on, and it's going to be like a 15-point blowout or something, like 20 points. Those usually how it goes. And also, it's not so much matter because they're just going to lose to Baylor next round anyway. All right, so St. Mary's versus the 2 teams again. Wyoming versus, I'm assuming this is Indiana.
Yep.
St. Mary's versus, so again, Wyoming versus Indiana. Who do you got into that matchup? And then just St. Mary's actually coming out of the same conference as Gonzaga. Usually Gonzaga's the only one that really shows up, but St. Mary's and made it, and I think one other one, San Francisco was the other. So 3 teams coming out of that conference. Who do you got in this matchup?
Okay, so I've watched St. Mary's play a couple of times. They really do play well together. They have one of their players has the sweetest mullet you will ever see in college basketball. So if you haven't seen them play, you got to check this kid out. But let's talk about that playing game. I like Indiana in the playing game.
Okay,
Indiana,
Big Ten.
Yep, they had to win against I think it was Michigan first. They had to win against Illinois, and when their backs are against the wall, they play really good basketball. So I'm going Indiana against the Mountain West opponent, all right, to start off. And then I picked Indiana to beat St. Mary's.
So this is the 5-12 matchup that you got. All right,
100%.
Sweet. We may even get more because, as I said, I think historically, isn't like the 5 only like a 57% chance to win or something like that? Like it's
something very close to that. Yeah.
Yeah. You would think of 5 versus 12 if you're not familiar with the NCAA. Like, okay, the 5 is going to win a lot more than the 12, but it's actually much closer than you may anticipate. So there you go. Some years, I think 3 out of 5 12 seeds move on. So it's a weird seeding for sure. Okay, sweet. So Indiana moving on to the next one. And now I'm just going to just ask this for just general purposes. If Wyoming does find a way to upset Indiana, does Wyoming have a similar chance of beating St. Mary's in your opinion, or do you think you'd pick St. Mary's in that matchup?
I think similarly with Wyoming. Wyoming had to win some games there down the stretch, and if they didn't, they wouldn't be in the position that they're in. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I do like them as a team. They've kind of grown this year a lot. A team that most people probably don't even know anything about, and I don't know one player's name on their team. Like, not gonna lie to you guys. Yeah. But when I watch them play, I see the ball movement. I see them closing out on defense. I see their activeness and their energy. And that, to me, speaks volumes about how they'll do in this tournament. Not saying they're going to go very far, but I do like them against St. Mary's as well.
Yeah, it's similar to what we talked about before of they have a play-in game, so they're going to have that momentum coming in. So, okay, sweet. I like that. A 12 seed moving on with the play-in game momentum. I like that idea for sure. All right, UCLA versus Akron. You talked about them being in the playoff game last year, I believe, as an 11 seed, making it to the Final Four. Do they have another run, or does Akron have something to say about it?
I have something to say to Akron. I mean, John Gross is their coach, and John Gross, if you remember, was the coach before Brad Underwood at Illinois, and that was probably the worst stretch of Illinois basketball I've ever seen in my life. So, almost out of pure spite, but also out of some basketball knowledge, I'm going with the number 4 UCLA Bruins over the Akron Zips because, once again, they check 4 of my 5 boxes. The one thing that Akron does better is defend the basketball as far as like points per game goes. But that might also be part of the reason like they're in the Mid-America Conference and not in like a decent conference. So
I like it. All right. So Virginia Tech versus Texas. Virginia Tech winning the ACC championship over teams like UNC, Duke. Who else is good in that one? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Miami was in there. Florida State's
Miami,
in there.
Miami for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like everybody's been in there, really.
For sure. Okay,
this year, but it was still surprising.
So this team, I'm not going to lie to you, just gives me feels of that Yukon team with Kemba Walker back in the day. That they weren't a very high seed. I think they were a 7 seed, but going into the tournament, they ended up winning the Big East, beat the number 1 seed Pittsburgh. Went on and they just had a magical run. Kemba was on another level. So does Virginia Tech beat Texas to you, or is Texas put an end to this miracle?
Here's what I love about Virginia Tech. I love that Virginia Tech plays a decently paced style of basketball where they're not going to slow it down like Virginia will slow it down. They're not going to speed you up like some of those transition teams that we see out west and things. What we're going to see with Virginia Tech is they're going to control the pace of the game, and they're going to play, and they're going to give them the best shot of anybody. So I do like Virginia Tech in this matchup. They check 2 of my 5 boxes only, but the one box they didn't check was the opponent's points per game. But in the ACC, you're going to see a lot of scoring, right? You're going to see a lot of those All-American high school players. So that might be one of the reasons. That's one of the things I consider whenever I looked into this a little bit more.
Sounds good. And again, momentum is the key to March. If you got that momentum, you won your conference championship, you're more likely to have a deep run in the big tournament. So I like that. Upset, 11-6 matchup upset for sure. All right, Purdue. Here's the number 1 seed coming out of the Big Ten against Yale. Yeah,
we're gonna go with the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. The Boilermakers, I don't see I don't see how Yale has a shot. I didn't know the Ivy League only let 4 teams in their tournament, so like you're basically going to see the same 2 Ivy League schools every year. It's either Yale or Princeton, right? They don't have the size, they don't have the guard. Jaden Ivey's a ball player. People are comparing him to John Morant, whether you agree with that or not, whatever. But Edey is legit size at 7'2", 7'3", or whatever he is. And then Travion Williams off the bench is legit too. So Purdue all the way.
Got it. So Purdue all the way. We'll just make them to the championship. No. All right. Here's something that a couple of people wanted to see. I'm curious about the Murray State-San Francisco matchup, and we have made it here. Another 7-10 matchup here. Murray State against San Francisco. San Francisco is a name I don't remember ever seeing in the tournament. Like, when's the last time do you even know when the last time they were in the tournament was?
No,
I'm going to look it up while you talk. But what do you got here? Murray State versus San Francisco.
I have Murray State going in this one. They are running and gunning. They were undefeated in their conference. They're joining a new conference, I believe, next year, maybe the following year. And they play hard. They're another one of those teams that just finds ways to win basketball games. And San Francisco, while they give people runs in the West Coast Conference with like Gonzaga and who's the other one? Vermont, we talked about. Or not Vermont. Oh, goodness. I'm losing. Who was the other team that was from Gonzaga's?
St. Mary's.
St. Mary's, sorry, yes. So I do like that. I do like how they play and they do all that stuff. But I just think Murray State in the 7-10 matchup is a better team. And in this case, they score more points and they allow less points.
By the way, the last time they made it to the tournament was 1998, and before that, it was 1982. So this is only their second appearance in 40 years, and their first one in, 24 years? Yeah, so they don't necessarily have the rich history of making it. And Murray State, that's where Morant went, right, Ja?
Yes, that's where John Morant went. Mm-hmm.
There you go. All right, so Murray State moves on to the round of 32. All right, Kentucky versus St. Peter's. I despise John Calipari, but you got to respect the fact that they're a great program. I mean, they're just good, and it sucks because I think they cheat like a mother trucker, but it is what it is. So, St. Peter's, anything?
No shot. They're scoring 66 points a game. Kentucky's only giving up 66 points a game. This might be a 20-point blowout, to be honest with you. And that doesn't happen very often in the NCAA tournament. I mean,
yeah,
but nothing crazy.
Yeah, it's not going to be pretty for sure. All right, Arizona beating two teams that I couldn't even guess who these people are. Like, what do you know anything like WRST versus BRY? I don't even know who these people are.
So it's Wright State and Bryant. Here's one thing that I'll say, and this is a game that I'm going to kind of look at from like a betting perspective more than like a winning perspective. I 100%.
Oh, they might cover?
I 100% think that Arizona is going to win this game. Mm-hmm. But if Bryant wins the playing game and they get on a hot streak, they will not lose by, whatever the spread is. They'll
21 or something like that.
Whatever sure. They play a different kind of basketball than Arizona's probably used to. I mean, it's still basketball, but it's just different when you get these little conference teams in there. I love Bryant in that matchup against Wright State, and then I love Arizona against Bryant.
He said Peter Kiss is going to might go crazy in this tournament, says Gilly. All right. So that's interesting. So if you are a gambler, so Bryant may be a team that you look at to cover that large spread, but Arizona should pull it out. All right, here's another 8-9 matchup. Seton Hall versus TCU, Texas Christian University. Where are you going on this one?
I'm going to go with the 8-seeded Seton Hall. Their net rank and their points per game are better. They also played more games, they did not play more games against the top 25. TCU did. Okay. But TCU had a losing record against the top 25. TCU's strength of schedule is a little bit better than Seton Hall. But I think the Big East this year, for whatever reason, is playing exceptional basketball, and I don't think TCU is at the same exact level that Seton Hall's at. So I'm going to go with Seton Hall.
TCU Big 12, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, they had a tough schedule. they playing in that Big 12 is no joke.
Yeah, and I could 100% like pull that one. I could totally be wrong on that. That's one of the ones that's a little more kind of flip the coin, but I do like Seton Hall over TCU.
Gotcha. Yeah, 8-9 matchups, clearly, based on how close they are, one of the hardest ones to pick. Right. All right, UAB versus Houston, another 5-12 matchup. Who do you got in this one?
Houston, I can't remember if it was last year. I know for sure a couple of years ago they were in the Final Four. Same kind of makeup for the team here. They're third in their net rank, which is outstanding for a fifth-seeded team in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Their strength of schedule is 43rd. That's going to beat more than half of the bracket also. Mm-hmm. And then what they do is they score and they defend. They have an average differential of points by 17 points. That is insane, right?
Yeah.
The one thing UAB has is they play in Conference USA. They went 14-4 in their conference. They score 80 points a game, and they only give up 66. Mm-hmm. So that's another big margin of victory. But I would venture to say that the American Athletic Conference is better than the Conference USA. Mm-hmm. So that might be a reason for the discrepancy, and that's why I went with Houston.
Got it. All right. Houston over UAB, so not another 5-12 matchup. All right, go ahead. Give us your spiel. Give us your take on your favorite team, the Illinois Illini, going against Chattanooga. I know you're picking Chattanooga, but try to really make up for your team here.
Okay, so here's the whole deal, Tim, and this is funny that you said that because I really, really, really want to pick Chattanooga.
Oh, okay.
I really do. And this would be the biggest upset for my life personally that I've ever experienced in the NCAA tournament. Here's the thing with Illinois is they play defense really well, but they go on super long stretches where they just don't score. Okay. They've had multiple stretches of 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes, even I think the longest one this year was 9 minutes where they didn't score a field goal. They scored free throws, but no field goal.
Wow. Okay.
That is really frightening. The other thing with Illinois is they don't have, or maybe, sorry, I shouldn't say that. Jacob Grandison is one of their starters, averaging 10 points a game, assists, rebounds, plays spectacular defense. He's out with a shoulder injury. Right now, he's day-to-day. So him not being there, he's one of the glue guys for Illinois, along with DeMonte Williams. But all that said, I think Illinois can get past the first-round matchup of Chattanooga as long as they don't have one of those crazy stretches of no scoring.
No points on the board. All right. So we're going to send Illinois on through. All right. So, but Chattanooga, maybe with injuries and
100%.
matchup, maybe a team you look at to move on. Okay. I like it.
If that spread is more than 10, take Chattanooga.
Gotcha. All right. Sweet. All right, Colorado State versus Michigan, another Big Ten team, and they talk about a tournament team. This team doesn't matter. It doesn't seem to matter what rank they are going in, but they find a way to make something happen in March. But does Colorado State all of a sudden a 6th seed? This is pretty high for a team like Colorado State, so they must be pretty serious themselves.
Yeah, the one thing Michigan has against them, and it's, again, the conference they play in, they have 9 games against top 25 opponents. This is one of the closer user pick ones on the CBS Sports app. This one's 53% to 47% in favor of the Wolverines from Michigan.
Yeah.
They have Vermont has a slight edge in points, only 1 point more.
Colorado State, yeah.
Sorry, Colorado State. I don't even know. Okay, anyway.
It's all good.
Colorado State, and then they have a little bit bigger split. They're better at defending the ball by 4 points, but once again, their conference kind of dictates a lot of that because that's where 18 of their games are from. But I agree with everything you just said. Like Juwan Howard, while he can't coach in the Big Ten, somehow finds a way to beat these teams in the NCAA tournament. Last year, if you remember, Michigan was the only team in the Big Ten that didn't lose in the second or first round. And they made it, I think, to the Sweet 16, if not to the Elite 8. So that in itself, and all the stuff that Michigan has gone through this year with injuries and stuff, I think they're ranked low, and I do think they can beat this 6th seed.
Okay, Michigan over Colorado State. It's interesting. I don't know. We'll see. Something tells me that Colorado State has a really good chance in this game, but we'll see. Michigan's not a bad pick though at all because they are coming from the better conference, so I agree with you. All right, Tennessee versus Longwood. Longwood, the long shot. Are they beating Tennessee? Because Tennessee's also the SEC. They're coming up, man. They're doing a lot of big things over there in the SEC. But Tennessee, the 3 versus 14. What do you got?
I have Tennessee winning my whole tournament, so I'll give that away right now.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm giving up. I'm taking Tennessee here. The one thing that Longwood has is they can score the ball. A little bit better according to points per game, where they beat them by 3 points per game. Besides that, their net rank is 125th, and they have 0 games against the top 25.
Oh, man. Yeah, that would be a massive upset. Massive upset. So now you know if Tennessee loses, KP's bracket is busted.
100%.
All right. Loyola Chicago versus Ohio State. Loyola Chicago, known for the big dude Krutwig, who's not there anymore, I believe. So, but they're apparently a well-coached team. They usually have older guys. So they're older, like they stay for 4, sometimes even 5 years with a 5th-year redshirt year. But Ohio State versus Loyola Chicago, another Big Ten team. What do you got?
So Ohio State has played up and down this year. Also, they've dealt with some injuries. They've dealt with some chemistry issues with losing Casey Washington. EJ Liddell is an all-star player. He's going to be a great NBA player, in my opinion, if he can get a little bit of speed on himself. But here's what Loyola does best. They recruit winners. They have multiple state champions on their team. They have multiple dudes that have played overseas and played professionally already. I'm going with Loyola.
Ooh, another 10 over 7 in KP's bracket. I like it. So Loyola Chicago over Ohio State. All right, another 2-15 matchup. Villanova's my second favorite team. I just always liked the name, and when Big East was on top, they were the team that I picked to root for to win that championship. You know what I mean? Because
Yep.
Maryland, once Gary Williams left, they didn't have a real shot. So Villanova, Delaware is my second favorite team going to get upset here.
No, there's no way. I don't see it. I mean, Villanova, when we were in high school and things, like they were always the team that would be like a 5, 6, 7, 8, and they would always make a deep run. They haven't really changed that much. Now they're just getting ranked higher, so even easier track to them. So I got Villanova going.
Yeah, they're probably the biggest beneficiary of the Big East really getting dismantled because now they don't have to go against Pittsburgh, Louisville, Syracuse, Yukon. No, Yukon. Where's
UConn's
Yukon?
still in there.
Yukon's still in there. I'm sorry. There was a couple other teams. Notre Dame left. They're in the ACC
Yeah.
now. A lot of those teams just went to the ACC. I don't know why they just
Yeah, I don't know what was
got
going on
eaten
with
up
it.
by the ACC. But all right, cool. Villanova moving on. All right, Kansas, the winner of they won the Big 12 tournament, didn't they?
Yep.
Yep. Going against Texas Southern, I'm gonna guess, and then TCC. Oh, this was the matchup that we were talking about. You said Christian Christie or something? Christie something?
Corpus Christi. Yep.
Corpus Christi. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Kansas. They're not going to get upset, right?
No way.
No shot. No shot. All right.
Baji or whatever Abaji, I think his name is. He's a dominant big. They got some good players in their system. They always have good players. They're blue blood for a reason. They're going to win.
Yeah, for sure. All right, another 8-9. The last 8-9 of the tournament bracket here. San Diego State versus Creighton.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is an interesting one. My gut says San Diego State, but I don't know much about them. So what do you got? San Diego versus Creighton.
To be honest, the Creighton is the one Big East team I don't feel the most confidence in. And when you look at like the boxes that I have been talking about this whole time, they check only one box. Creighton does, and San Diego State checks the other 4. So I'm going to go with San Diego State. I think it'll be a closer game. Probably this might be one of the, if not the closest games in the whole tournament for the first round. And I'm going to go with San Diego State. But if you pick Creighton, I totally get it. I mean, I wouldn't, make fun of you or anything like that either.
Sounds good. All right, sweet. Iowa versus Richmond. Iowa should be higher than a 5th seed, huh? Like this is a team that's probably better than the 5th. Oh, really? Okay.
I think 5 is probably pretty good. They're an up and down team too.
Oh, okay, interesting. All right, so Iowa versus Richmond, another 5-12. You've only picked 1-12 so far. Are you going with the 2 and 2, or are you going to 3-5 seeds taking it all?
I'm going to go with 3-5 seeds this year.
Okay.
I think, we've had a lot of 12s upset 5s and things. I think our upsets are in different areas this year.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons, and this is something you talk about, like Iowa just beat Purdue in the Big Ten title tournament game.
Mm-hmm.
They shoot the ball, and if they're hot, they'll bury some teams. The one area where they struggle is they don't have a legit big post defender or player inside. So they give up a lot of points a game. They give up 71 points a game, but they score 84. So when you score, like as long as you can keep scoring, I think there was one game with Illinois this year. It was like 94-90. You know what I mean? Like they have games like that, and they've scored 100 this year a couple times. Like just things like that. So when you can score the ball and it's your night, I like you a lot, right? Richmond, they don't have as much of that. They're only averaging 71 points a game in a weaker conference. I'm going to go with the Big Ten team.
All right, Iowa moving on. Providence versus South Dakota State. Did somebody ask about South Dakota State earlier in the chat?
I think so. Yeah, I don't know who it was, but somebody did ask.
Yeah, here we go. What do you think of this kind of bold? But I think the South Dakota State makes the Sweet 16. Does KP agree? Again, Providence is a team that makes the tournament quite often, but they usually don't become a 4 seed. Like this might be one of their highest seeds in quite some time. I've seen them a lot as 11 seeds or 10, maybe up to 7, but 4 is pretty dang high for them. Is this team for real, or does South Dakota State, another 13-4 matchup, get upset here?
Yeah, I'm going with South Dakota State, honestly.
Oh, okay.
Here's the whole thing, and this is where I'm kind of like at with the NCAA and tournaments and things. They score 87 points a game. That's one thing. They went undefeated, won their conference tournament. That's really hard to do regardless of what conference you're in. They have 30 wins in the season. The only thing that really hurts them is their strength of schedule is 198th. Not good. And they played one game against the top 25, and they lost that game. So
who was it? Do you know?
I don't know. I'd have to.
I'll look it up. That's fine. Yeah.
So with all that being said, the Jackrabbits, they can score the ball. They defend pretty well. Their average margin of 13 points. Providence average margin is only 4 points. A little bit closer to 5 actually, but that's not great news for tournament time. Now, what does help Providence is they've probably been in more closer games. They probably won closer games than South Dakota State, which that can be beneficial during tournament time too. But I like the upset here in the 4-13 matchup.
Yeah, they played Alabama,
okay,
and lost 104-88. So they put up 88 on Alabama, yeah, and that was early in the season.
Okay, I was gonna say Alabama was ranked really high early in the season too. Like they might have been top 10 at that point. I don't know, but
yeah, 104-88. They lost. They went down to Alabama. So,
okay.
But Alabama's obviously a much better team, in my opinion. Anyway, I think Alabama is because they're a 6th seed now.
Yeah, Alabama's 6th seed. Yep.
I feel like Alabama's better than Providence, but that's just me, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, cool. South Dakota State moving on to face Iowa. LSU versus Iowa State.
LSU is another one of those teams that's had a up and down kind of year. They play in the SEC. We've talked a lot about the SEC being more of a basketball conference now more than ever. Iowa State in the Big 12 does play probably a harder schedule, but I like the Tigers at LSU this year. They got Sharif O'Neal. That's all I needed to hear. Even though
they got Sharif O'Neal. Is that really is he related to Shaquille?
Yeah, he's his son.
Nice.
Shaquille's got like 14 sons or something.
How tall is he? Is he similar to his dad?
No, he does. You would never even know he was Shaq's son. He's skinny. He's tall. He's like 6, I think 10 or maybe 6'8", something like that.
He could be. I wouldn't be surprised by that because Shaquille O'Neal was pretty thin.
No. Like, this is different. Like this is like the difference between like a really tall guy that a guy that weighs 200 pounds that's 6 foot tall versus a guy that weighs 200 pounds and is 6'8". Like that's the difference in the skinniness.
So so he's like legit skinny, not because he was.
I mean, he's big. Like he's strong.
Obviously, Shaq gained a lot of weight later in his career, but when he came out, he was like a thin dude that can move. Like he had like great athleticism. So but you're saying he's like a what's his name? A bull skinny.
Not like that skinny, but yes, he's a much different body type than his dad.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. Sounds good. All right, LSU moving on over Iowa State. Wisconsin versus Colgate, the toothpaste.
Fighting toothbrush.
In the tourney, do they have a chance over the Big Ten opponent, Wisconsin?
All right, so I'm gonna give some number comparisons here for this one. What number is better, 24th or 128th?
Depending on what you're doing, I would rather win 124-28 if that's what you're asking me. Yeah, so 28 sounds a lot better. All right, I'll play your game. Yeah. What 28 sounds good?
Okay, 20th or 3/17th.
I think 20th. Yeah, okay, I'll go with 20.
And that's 5-3 versus 0-0. How do you feel about that one?
They didn't lose. Wisconsin has 3 losses. Or I don't know who you're talking about, actually. Maybe I shouldn't make assumptions. But, the one team has 3 losses. The other one doesn't have any.
And then one team has a player in the running for National Player of the Year. And one team doesn't have a player that I know their last name.
Wow.
Or first name, for that matter. I couldn't even guess. So I'm going with the Badgers. They won a share of the Big Ten regular season title this year. Shared it with Illinois. Much better as far as my boxes go. They played.
What's the guy's name that's Player of the Year?
Johnny Davis is up for it.
Johnny Davis. Does he use Crest? That's the
Does he
real
use Crest? No, I think he's going to hammer some dunks against Colgate. But
yeah, there you go. All right, Wisconsin over Colgate. All right, last 7-10 matchup: USC versus Miami. We talked about Miami being a pretty solid team out of the ACC. Pac-12, USC. I haven't seen a lot of Pac-12 teams in this tournament. Am I crazy? There's no Oregon. There's
Pac-12 had a really rough year this year. I don't
Stanford's
know.
Not in it.
Right. Yeah.
Is Arizona Pac-12?
Arizona's Pac-12, yep.
Okay, so they're the 1 seed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, it's definitely not a packed conference, but all right. USC versus Miami. What do you got?
Definitely USC in this one.
Okay. Oh, okay. So
They
Pac-12 coming
Yeah,
up.
the one thing about Miami is, and this is kind of like with their football team too, is they're an all hype kind of team, is what I would refer to them as.
Okay.
Where USC probably has to work a little bit more. So I'm going to go with USC.
Okay. Cool. USC over Miami. Auburn versus is this Jacksonville State?
Yep,
Okay.
HBCU.
Auburn
Uh,
versus Jacksonville State.
yeah,
SEC.
the one thing that Jacksonville State has on them is they let up or they give up, excuse me, they give up zero point 0.2 points per game less. That's it.
That's it.
And they play a much easier schedule. So
Yeah.
Auburn time.
All right, sweet. So we're done with the first round. Thanks, KP. We're going to finish this bracket and probably go a little bit faster than we were. But yeah, so KP giving it some good insight through the entire tourney. So definitely I learned a lot. As I said, I didn't watch a lot of games. I haven't watched really like anything this year. So thank you so much for hanging out. But yeah, let's go ahead and just finish this perfect bracket out. So we got Gonzaga versus Memphis. Gonzaga, I don't see them losing this early, but
100%.
number one
Gonzaga.
overall seed. So, all right, they're taking Memphis. All right.
Yep.
Yukon versus Vermont. Does your 13 seed move on?
Absolutely not. I got Yukon moving on.
Okay. I have Yukon out in the first round in my bracket, so
Okay.
this would hurt me. All right, Alabama versus Texas Tech. This is a tough matchup this early. I hate to see these two teams go at it so early, but we got to pick one. So who do you got?
I'm gonna go with Alabama because their strength of schedule is number one in the country.
Nice, Alabama, SEC over the monster Big 12. All right, sounds good. Duke versus Davidson.
Yep. Duke.
Duke,
No.
I like it. Baylor versus UNC. Does UNC have a chance to knock them off?
They do have a chance, but I'm going Baylor.
All right, sounds good. I really like Baylor. I just fell in love with them with how monstrous. Because I know you said Davion Mitchell went to the NBA, but they were more than one player. Like they were just the entire team just outclassed Gonzaga. I couldn't believe it. That's how why I'm saying it again. It was I picked Gonzaga to win the whole thing last year, and I was like, oh yes, I have a chance. Let's go Gonzaga. And watching that game, I'm like, why did I pick Gonzaga?
Yeah.
It's like unbelievable. All right, so you said Indiana here at the 12 seed against UCLA.
Yeah, I would go UCLA in there. I just think they have a better team this year, and they went far last year. They didn't lose a whole lot, so going with UCLA.
All right, sweet. Virginia Tech over Purdue. Virginia Tech versus Purdue. I was trying to think of who you said you had winning the whole thing. I knew it was a 3 seed, but it's Tennessee. All right, so Virginia Tech versus Purdue.
Purdue. Size, speed, too much.
All right. I personally like the idea of Virginia Tech making the monstrous upset. Obviously, I think Purdue should be the thing, but as I said, when you win your conference championship, you get momentum. I don't know. I feel like Virginia Tech could make some sort of miracle run, but that might just be me. All right. Kentucky versus Murray State.
Kentucky.
Okay. All right.
Blue Bloods.
Sounds good. Arizona versus Seton Hall.
I do like Seton Hall to cover, but I like Arizona.
Okay. Well, I have Arizona move on. So the way you were talking about these two teams before, it sounded like you were going to have Houston win this game against Illinois. So what am I based on that? Am I correct?
Yeah, 100%. Illinois, if they get Jacob Grandison back, maybe I like them a little bit better. But right now, I like Houston.
All right. So you had Tennessee over Michigan because you said that.
Yep.
Villanova against Loyola Chicago. Do we have a 10 seed moving on?
No, Chicago plays first round win, second round loss. Nova.
Gotcha. All right. Kansas versus San Diego State.
I like San Diego State to cover. I like Kansas to win.
All right. Kansas moving on. Do the Jackrabbits move over Iowa?
Okay. If you pick South Dakota State, once again, would not fault you for that. I'm picking Iowa.
All right. Sounds good. LSU against Wisconsin.
LSU.
Ooh, another 6-3 matchup with the 6 winning. You had 2 6s moving on. All right. USC versus Auburn.
Auburn by a landslide.
Ooh, Auburn by a landslide. All right. So you've Had some upsets in the first round. Then you started going a little bit chalk, it sounds like. So you like these heavy seeds this year, which is fair. It always can happen. All right, Gonzaga versus Yukon in the Sweet 16.
Gonzaga. Size, speed, better basketball pedigree.
Well coached. The whole nine. Nice. Alabama versus Duke. This is a tough one.
Bama.
There's an upset. A 6 seed moving on over the 2. All right. I like it. And I always love to see those sad little Blue Devils lose. It's great.
Yeah.
Baylor versus UCLA.
Baylor.
Okay.
Defense.
I like it. Kentucky versus Purdue. A 2-3 matchup here.
Purdue.
All right. There's another
More
upset.
Experience and size.
I feel like I did a similar thing with my bracket. Like I was really hating on the 2s this year. Like once we got to this point, like I liked whoever was playing against the 2 at the Sweet 16 to move on. So it was similar on that front, but we'll keep going. Arizona versus Houston.
Arizona.
I feel like what you've told me, I feel like Houston's going to win that game. Like I don't feel like a 1 seed is going to continue to move on in every round, and I feel like Arizona is the weakest one out of the 1s. So I feel like but that's fine. I respect it. Arizona's clearly the number 1 seed for a reason. So, all right, Tennessee versus Villanova. You said Tennessee.
Yep.
Kansas versus Iowa.
Kansas, more disciplined, better defenders, better shooters.
All right, that's where Iowa falls. LSU versus Auburn.
Auburn by a landslide again.
So you love some Auburn. All right, I like it. All right, we're gonna back out a little bit to get to. So we got to the Elite 8 now. So Gonzaga versus Alabama.
Almost flipped a coin on this. Did some research. I like Gonzaga.
All right, Gonzaga, number 1 seed moving forward. You had Tennessee, you said, over Arizona. I like that because, as I said, I'm not big on Arizona this year.
Yeah.
Kansas versus Auburn.
Kansas.
Yeah, Baylor versus Purdue.
Purdue.
Ooh, Baylor loses in the Elite 8. So you have in the Final Four, where are they at? All right, here. In the Final Four, you got both matchups, a 1 versus 3.
Which I didn't realize till just now.
I didn't realize until right now.
No idea.
Which is fine. Which is respect. Yeah. Like it's a fine. You just picked it based on what you know, which is fine. And you never know. I mean, this is as good as guess as any. So yeah, and I think it's only happened ever one time where all 4 1 seeds made it to the Final Four, and that was like within the last 10 years, wasn't it? Where I think UNC went, and I think UNC ended up winning the whole thing, but it was 4 number 1 seeds that made it. So not very often do 1 seeds, all of them make it. So, all right, Gonzaga versus Purdue. We'll go that matchup first.
Purdue.
And so on top of that, you have both 3 seeds beating the 1s.
Also didn't realize that.
That's awesome. All right, and then you said you have the Volunteers. That's who they are, right? The Volunteers? Yep. Tennessee Volunteers taking it all. What is your final score?
So on mine I had to do total score. So I picked a total score of 141. But I'm going to go 75-66 Tennessee.
75-66 Tennessee. Beautiful. Well done. We'll submit these in for fun. And all right. Well, there you go. There's your perfect bracket. And hopefully you guys learned something. I know I did. And continue to fill out the brackets. Again, in the description below, there's a link to the bracket challenge. You can win $100 for free. You can also win a t-shirt, the first piece of merch for the channel. So make sure to hop on in. You can make as many brackets as you want. It's free to enter. I don't care. I'm not policing that side of it. And the app will tell us who wins at the end. So last year I had to do all of the maths myself because I didn't think about creating it on an app at the time. I was like, oh, just set it in, and then there also wasn't nearly as many people. But yeah, we can see here, if we go to my groups, there's a decent amount of brackets in here. So yeah, throw it in and see if you have a chance to win. We see that some people have made multiple brackets, and as I said, which is fine. Make them, and let's have some fun. All right.
Sure.
Sweet. Any last things there, KP?
None of my picks are endorsed by any kinds of means of relevancy, so please do not bet boatloads of money on any of the picks that I made. But good luck to everybody making their brackets, and I hope it's a fun March for everybody.
Absolutely. Thanks again, KP. Thanks, everybody in the chat. It was fun for hanging out. Gilly, Maddie, Expert, Spoiled stopped on by. He wants to everybody subscribe to his channel. But thanks, everybody that came in. Of course, the pig. The pig came in picking Michigan the whole way because of that nice left hook. But thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching to the end. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Also, in the description below, there's a Discord link. Hop in our Discord and come hang out with us. And until next time. See ya!